Good morning. I'm David Perkins and I am a business person in Sydney. I run a small legal office. I have been a corporate lawyer and a solicitor in Sydney since the early 80s, and other than for one or two short periods I have been a user of public transport. That is up until recently. I live in Greenwich. I used to catch the train regularly from St Leonard's, but more recently I am electing to drive because the train's just overcrowded. But before moving on to the trains, I've just got one small message for the NRMA. I have to say I am extremely disappointed with the NRMA in recent times. Since it's given up its insurance business, it really has lost a lot of its relevance for New South Wales motorists. It seems as an organisation to be more involved and more concerned about its internal politics than it does about bringing any true initiatives for New South Wales road users. There are many things that could be done, but there seems to be no imagination, no drive, no political will to institute reforms which are visible or meaningful to New South Wales motorists. One thing that I think could have been done many years ago, but certainly can be done now, is that all NRMA members should, as part of their membership, be given at cost, but I think would only be small cost, a permanent GPS indicator for each vehicle which is registered as a member of the NRMA. In this way, the insurance claims for losses, and I know NRMA is not in insurance, but each of us owners, when we have an insurance claim for a lost vehicle, we do face significant additional costs beyond those which can be covered by insurance. So the initial thing I think that the NRMA could do for us, and I think a rather a symbolic thing as well, which would give the NRMA much greater appeal and much more relevance to motorists, is to provide this GPS advice. Our cars would then be traceable. In the event of loss, they could be easily found. I'm sure these technology would allow these apparatus to be fitted to cars now, so they couldn't be easily removed, or they couldn't be removed without obvious sign. There may be privacy issues there, as privacy gets in the way of anything sensible these days, it seems, but that could easily be addressed by just having a notice on the car saying that if you steal this vehicle or if you use this vehicle, you should be aware that where you've been and what you've done, or where you've been at least, will be recorded, and where you are at any time will be recorded. So if you're visiting someone illicit, don't steal this car or use this car. Returning to the trains, and I should also say that I often catch buses, but the problem with buses from the North Shore is that you can spend too long on the bridge in the Congo line getting into the city, which seems to me that one thing we could do, and I think profitably could do, is increase the number of trains using the North Shore line. Surely now we could use a concept similar to the city circle to have the suburban circle, in that we have trains circulating clockwise and anti-clockwise up the North Shore line to Hornsby or to Chatswood, then across to the Western line and down through Strathfield and back into the city. One set of trains, a couple of extra trains going clockwise and a couple of extra trains going anti-clockwise each morning to pick up the extra number of passengers that are on the line. And the other thing that should be done in conjunction with this is that more of the bus routes in the outer suburbs should terminate at rail terminals. I think computers would take to this. Certainly buses could terminate at St Leonard's, and if there were sufficient trains to take up the extra traffic, many people would choose to hop on a train there and come through to the city or beyond, rather than have to catch a bus as they do now into the city and use the city as either the point of destination from a bus or the point of interchange from a bus to some other form of transport. I think it is important that the buses in particular continue to improve. I think the transport department that is responsible for Sydney buses deserves a bouquet at the moment. As a regular user of the buses, I think the average age and degree of politeness of bus drivers has shown a remarkable improvement in the last couple of years, and I think the last year, I guess, probably more recent, or could be more recent than, but it needs to be recognised, and it is interesting that initially it was noticeable that the number of younger drivers are on the bus routes I use. I think those younger bus drivers have been more polite. They seem more energetic. They seem more concerned, and perhaps you know, you can be a bus driver too long. I don't know. I don't want to be ageist about this or say that the old bus drivers are doing a crook job. Many of them are very good, but I just think that there must have been a recruiting and staff training exercise which took place probably 12 months ago, and for which the results on the buses are quite visible. Coming to the trains, trains won't regain credibility until people like them. And for people to like them, firstly they have to be comfortable and clean, and secondly the corruption in the rail corporation has to be tidied up. You know, it's not, I don't believe that you can ask the public to engage with an organisation which is in the press constantly for corruption. And it is obvious to everyone other than perhaps our ministers and our police that corruption is so ingrained in rail corporation at the moment that there needs to be wholesale changes of senior management, and that management has to be given the task of cleaning up Railcorp as #1 priority. I think it is until you get Rail Corporation sorted out in that way, get the corruption out, you won't get focused back onto proper management issues. Next issue is ticketing. I challenge any of the senior rail executives or its board to come down to Wynyard Station on a Monday or a Friday evening and try to buy a ticket. It's disgraceful, and it's beyond belief that the senior management of Railcorp are so insensitive to the needs of their customers that they would cause these customers to miss trains, to miss engagements in the evening, to be late for their families, just because you can't buy a ticket within 20 minutes. And if you doubt that time, then come and hop in a queue which winds its way back from the ticket office or one of the few ticket machines that are at Wynyard all the way back up to almost to George Street. Now that's just a very simple thing. Again, I think it is probably related to having management which are affected by corruption. They're ineffective to bring about change in difficult circumstances if they don't have clean hands. And that's not rocket science, that's just the same in any organisation, any environment. If you don't bring clean hands to a situation, the ability of people to resist change is substantially increased. When I travel to Singapore or to Hong Kong, which I did quite a bit of some years ago for a lengthy period, I used to be amazed at the selection of ticket machines in their stations, in their key stations.